Douglas Radio at Atlantic Studio. First of all, let me apologize for the late start. Of course, today a number of intricacies occurred, and as a result, of course, we have to do what we have to do. So apart from the bad weather, apart from all that took place today, at the same time today, it was the final day for the filing of nomination in respect to local government. And of course, being the coordinator for library, I had to also ensure that all was well and that all of the prospective candidates ensure that their documentation was in order and all the necessary accompanying information was in sync and to get the job organized and things done. Let me just put this thing on silent. Right. And apart from that, some of my prospective candidates for library, even though they reach within the time frame before the nomination close at 4, even though they were within that time frame, yet there was, as the long time twang goes, people like San filing for alderman and who filing for prospective candidates. And so everybody was up and down and getting things in place, and who misplaced a photocopy had to run and get it, and the thing was hectic. But nevertheless, the exercise went as planned, and I know that people get their documents in, and so they await further instruction in relation to when the screening date will be appointed so that they could go before a screening committee where they can do what they have to do. So it was very, very hectic today, and the weather didn't give any consolation to what was happening. There were serious rainfall. I think you saw earlier one where I was going live with an incident on the bypass just in the vicinity of South Park it is, when you head into Marabella after you come around the roundabout, and the volume of water where a vehicle washed straight across into the river, hook up on the Wassa line and so on. And then there was also a woman who was trapped in a vehicle, and the quick response by the fire service, who had done a wonderful job in rescuing that individual out of that car and manually toting her to safety. So I want to commend the fire service. I know, of course, nobody knows what is happening under the water, because the volume was so strong that actually it erodes a whole area where one of the Wassa cylinders were placed, whether it's to protect a main valve on that, it seems to be a 15 or 20 inch pipeline, but the water was so strong crossing the road. And if you look at this video that the producer have on the screen, you will see at a point in time where we were able to get a closer look, you will see the volume and how the water was just pounding. And of course, this lady, sole individual, in one of the vehicles who were stuck, and thank God it was not actually direct in front of where the volume of water were pushing, because if that vehicle was in that vicinity, of course, things could have been very, very much tragic. You know, upon reaching on the scene, we were told by bystanders that, you know, people washed away in the vehicle and so on. But after we get closer and speaking to one of an individual who was a police officer in plain clothes, we get some information that everybody had exited the vehicle, and that was very, very good. So we didn't have a situation where it was at the place where, you know, life and limbs were lost. I know that there was damages done to that vehicle in a severe way, because we passed back after the water subsided and so on, and there was serious damage with that volume of water that came down and all that came down with it. So we want to thank the fire service for responding in a timely manner and rescuing that individual. I know, I am certain she had to be traumatized, because being stuck in a vehicle, cannot go forward, backward, and just watching the volume of water building up around you, I could imagine how that individual felt as a result of what was happening at that time. So we are glad that all worked well, all went well, and that individual were rescued and is safe from what could have been a very tragic situation here this evening. And at the same time, I just want to advise people, it's always a danger. It is always a danger when one go through flood water. It's always a danger, because what happens is that nobody really knows what is happening below there. We do not know the extent of the flood and what damage it may cause in terms of eroding wherever the volume of water push. And of course, it could also be very, very disastrous for people who drive through flood water. I know I myself, we pass through a lot of flood water, sometimes to assist people, to rescue people. In most cases, we take the necessary precaution as far as we can. And of course, in those instances, we also know the area that we passing through. I will always advise, once there's a river course and that river bursts its bank, it will always be a disaster if you try to pass through there. If you try to pass through with the current of water and the volume of water that will push when a river bursts its bank, because remember, that river will build up to a capacity which it will, under normal circumstance, not build to. And when that bank is burst, the current and the volume of water that comes out, whether it is a road crossing, the volume is very, very significant, and it will remove any vehicle in its way at that point in time upon that bursting of the bank. So one must be very, very careful. One must be mindful of the danger. While you may try to get home and you may feel that it's so important to get where you're going, it might very well be the last drive you make. So you have to take all these things into consideration. And once you take these things into consideration, you have to understand that you have to put safety first in every aspect. Even while we may try to rescue someone, we have to also be very, very cautious that at the end of the day, you doesn't disappear. So that is the tip for today. And I want to encourage you to be safe and to be mindful as to what happens when that river bursts. You see the pressure? That's the pressure, that's the volume of water. And that is the water that flipped this car. This guy is actually hooked up between the road, the river, and a Wassa pipeline. That is where that car is situated. And it's because it's down between and it's pinned between the pipe, because when we passed, we saw that the high-up truck was even seeing trouble to remove him. So if it wasn't for that Wassa pipe, then you would have been able to pick that car up somewhere, maybe on King's Wharf in San Fernando. That is how serious and how severe it was. That water wasn't playing. What she pressure? What she pressure that water going down the road with there? And the volume of it. Now the silver car that you see in there, the wagon, the 7-seater, there is one lady that is inside that vehicle, the driver of the vehicle. And you can imagine how traumatized this woman had to be, seeing that volume of water just building right wrong, and there is no hope in sight. I could imagine how relief she felt when the fire service arrived on that scene. So we want to thank the fire service for responding in a timely manner and really doing what they are trained to do and bringing that individual to safety. So that's the situation on that. So let's move on, Arch. So ladies and gentlemen, as we continue today, I know of course we are late, but it's better late than never. I want to just run through a story here very quickly where we will take this thing up. So I want you to listen to this. Finance Minister Colin Imbert said the government cannot sustain the current fuel subsidy if oil price remain as is. Speaking during the spotlight on the Economy Forum today, Minister Imbert said for the financial year 2022, government would have paid some $2.6 billion to subsidize fuel. With crude oil price currently at $90 per barrel, government anticipates that next year's subsidy will be around 500 million less. That's of course taken into consideration that the subsidy was adjusted downward on April 19, 2022, which saw an increase at the pumps. However, the minister believes this is still too much. I want you to listen, you know. The minister believes that this is still too much. Today he announced that government is looking at capping the fuel subsidy at $1 billion, which is less than half. Let me just see if I get this phone to change. I have some serious problems with this phone. So let's see if I could get it right. I get it to change, and let's see what the story continues to say. Right. Today he announced government is looking at capping the fuel subsidy at $1 billion, which is less than half of the $2.18 billion projected for 2023 subsidy. Minister Imbert said government must set a limit for the next financial year so that the money saved can go towards other purpose. So what is Imbert saying to you? Imbert is saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, that even though on April 19th of this year, they reduce the fuel subsidy and increase your price at the pump, Imbert is saying today that that is not enough. He is saying that government is still spending too much on subsidy and they're going to reduce that. You know what that means, ladies and gentlemen? Let me tell you what that means. That simply means that in 2023, the government, and that's just the fiscal package, the government would take steps to further reduce that fuel subsidy, which will generally cause another increase for you, the consumer, at the pump. I raise it once, they ain't riot yet. I raise it twice, they still ain't riot. Then I raise it a third time, and they still ain't riot yet. So I might very well raise it a fourth time in April of next year. And everybody laugh. Everybody laugh. But while everybody laughing, the only people who crying is you, the consumer. So hear what? Prepare to cry some more. Prepare to cry some more. Because Imbot is saying that is still not good enough. They still putting too much money on subsidy. And with the current oil price at $90, he is telling you that once it remains, you know what's going to happen? You know what's going to happen? Is more money for you to spend to fuel your vehicle. Now, what I cannot understand, ladies and gentlemen, is why we now at this junction, where we have to import fuel, and because of what is going on in relation to Russia and Ukraine, you have to pay a price. And the price you have to pay, ladies and gentlemen, is not because of your fault in one sense, but yet your fault in the other sense. Sound like an oxymoron. So what Imbert and Rowley and this government is trying to put in your minds and to convince you that the real fact of the matter, why you will have to pay more and more as the war continues, is simply because of Rowley partner decision, Putin, to invade Ukraine. How many of you believe that that's the issue, and that's the reason, and that's the cause of the problem? Say aye. And when you're done, say aye. Don't go to the back of the class, go outside the classroom. Because if you ought to say aye, the reason why we have to pay this figure at our Trump is because of Putin and because of what is happening in Ukraine, then you have missed the mark and you have failed to understand the logistics in relation to voting consequences. And you have also missed the mark as to why Imbert is now saying to you that fiscal package 2023, it will have a reduction in subsidizing the fuel that you put in your vehicle by this administration. You have completely missed the mark if you have said "I" to agree that the cause of this situation is because of what is going on in the international community. So let me help you. Those of you who say "I," let me help you. You must first go back. Take your blackboard, place it on the wall, and let's go back and examine the reason the government will have to continue to remove or to decrease the fuel subsidy in this country. Somewhere in 2017, the then former Minister of Energy and Energy Affairs allowed an audit to take place in state-owned Petrotrin. Get your blackboard ready. The findings of that audit was that Petrotrin were paying substantial amount of money for crude that it never received. Somewhere along the line, when that document manifested itself as a result of two entities, which conducted that forensic audit and produced the findings in a documented form and handed over to the employer, which was the board of Petrotrin. The board of Petrotrin, which was appointed by the sitting government, after examining the findings, just like the special branch report on Foster Cummins that was thrown in a corner, hiding from the public domain. It was the same way that audit was kicked in a corner, hiding from the public domain until a whistleblower blow the whistle in the air of the opposition leader. But what did the opposition leader do? The opposition leader, the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa, was brutally attacked and chastised by Keith Christopher Rowley for bringing the information that the PNM was hiding to the public domain, which exposed the PNM financier, high-ranking members of the government. Rowley attacked brutally and savagely the integrity, the job spec of the opposition leader for bringing the secret document that was hiding. For how long? To the public domain, causing the government to act. But to act, the government did, but in the interests of their financiers, the party and those government ministers who benefited from the wealth of that fake oil scandal. So when that was exposed, we have seen a holistic conspiracy to protect each and every member by invoking the Cosa Nostra agents, using every method to protect, to safeguard, and to keep the secret of the exposure to a limit where they will have to take a particular action to protect the fake oils conspiracy. Keep in mind why we have to pay more and why Colin Imbert is now telling us that government will have to further reduce the fuel subsidy. Keep it in mind. So what had to be done? Firstly, Keith Rowley remember the statement. If you go out and expose us, then we will kill you politically. Tonight, I want to announce the political death of Nicole Olivier, the former Minister of Energy and Energy Trade. Who suffer the consequence in relation to the Cosa Nostra code.
A code, a mafiosi code. We keep each other's secret. It's only when you break rank, you go there and expose us, and for that, we're going to kill you politically.
So the first death in fake oil was the former Minister of Energy and Energy Affairs. But it didn't stop there. The next thing we heard was the resignation of the entire Petrotrin board. Entire Petrotrin board gone. But what is this? Minister gone, board members gone. How far that this needs to go to protect those financiers and those beneficiaries of the corruption, the scandal that goes with this fake oil. Let's continue. So a new board was appointed by the head of the Cosa Nostra. And when this board was appointed, this board can only be the sweeper, the janitorial board. They are to perform the duties of a janitor. They are to clean and to sweep and to mop and to safeguard every piece of evidence, every piece of corruption, every piece of information that could implicate the beneficiaries of the Petrotrin scandal. So what did they do? They placed at the hem their personal friend, and they place the swordsman. All of you who have looked at the old time karate in the days of the theater, you could remember the picture of the swordsman. The swordsman will cut you into pieces. He even while your body remain whole. Even before the brain send the message to the rest of the body that you have been dissected, the brain will tell the feet to run. Only when the feet move that the entire body will fall apart. So they send the swordsman. And when the swordsman examined the information from Kroll and other agencies, international agencies who have completed their work, the swordsman tell you, the public, that the attorneys will look into this situation and appropriate action would take place. But here how they play the game of the Cosa Nostra. That board that was appointed by Rowley cut up, mash up, dissect the whole of Petrotrin. And when that happened, and they fire those who were involved in the alleged scheme, within the fake oil scandal, fire, dismiss. But the board who Rowley appoint tell us that the lawyers and those in authority will take the appropriate action to deal with this situation. When they took the appropriate action and dismissed the man who is alleged to be the champion of the fake oil scandal, couple weeks after, Rowley dismantled the board that he appointed. He dismantled the chairman who tell you all will exit the company, so you don't have to call me late at night to ask me all who go in. All. When he dismissed that Espany board, who he appoints to look into the same oil scandal, when they took the appropriate action and that board was dismantled, then he appointed another chairman. He appointed his lawyer, his friend, Michael Kwamena, to the head of Petrotrin. And then he come back and tell us that it's because of Kamla Prasad Bisesa. All this occurred in Petrotrin, and come back and tell you that A&V was wrongfully dismissed and won an arbitration which Rowley partner appointed one of the arbiters. A&V appointed another one. And then A&V and the board under Kwamena select the third one. See how the game does play? So it's a clear case that we select we, and we protect we, and we guard each other's secret, and we did not expose we, and therefore the Cosa Nostra remains strong. Why are we paying so much for fuel that are coming there? So, ladies and gentlemen, when this took place, then the Rowley team decides that, look, we're going to guts Petrotrin. We're going to guts Petrotrin, and we will tell the people that we create 3 companies, 3 entities out of Petrotrin. But ladies and gentlemen, Rowley stood up and said to you that we are not closing down Petrotrin. I heard Rowley just recently speaking about the stupid people who say he lie and he lie and he lie, and they did not close down Petrotrin. They just come out of the refinery business, and all your idiots, all your clowns, clap to what this idiot tell all you. The stupid ones talking about I lie and I lie, but we never closed down Petrotrin. We just come out of the refinery business, and those who went home with billions of dollars, and all the idiots clap. All your so-called educated clowns clap to support that idiot with that idiotic statement, who believe that people in this country, that we all are idiots. Well, you could be an idiot if you want and support that hogwash. You could be an idiot. My little son ain't supporting that. Omar, 10 years, not supporting that. So let me just ask Rowley. Let me just ask him. So everybody you fire from Petrotrin, they were employed in the refinery. The security guards who you fire, they were employed in the refinery. The gaugers, the mechanics, those who work in transport, those who work in artificial lift, those who work in compressors, those who cut in the location, those who maintain the roads, all of them, Rowley, according to your daughter's statement, all of them had to be working in the refinery, because all you did,
the mothers, the children, the neighbors, and all those who are attached to the Petrotrin business, to make one clear statement to you. First and foremost, the government is not closing down Petrotrin. And in case you were just opening your fridge and you didn't hear that when you closed the door, let me repeat it. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is not closing down Petrotrin.
That is what they like. A brass-faced, stone-faced geologist liar. Wait, Petrotrin, Rowley. Wait. Last week, you say, we just come out of the refining business, we didn't close Petrotrin. Wait, Rowley. I feel I know what I'm to you, you know. I feel I know exactly what happened to you. I feel I know what happened to you, Keith Rowley. I know. I sure I know. But if you didn't know, you would have never hide that special branch report. You see that special branch report on Foster Cummins? We only have somewhere in the dull done until somebody had to leak it for it to come to the public domain. All you would have deal with it. Just like the pedophile, the Judith Jones report, that all they kick in a corner. All they didn't care about who get abused, who get raped. All they don't care, Rowley, about the children who screaming and bawling when the night come, with the agony and pain from these brutal savage who believe that abusing these children and getting turned on is some kind of excitement and probably some kind of ritual that they believe that they go get young. All they have that Judith Jones report, have it in a corner, they hide in until it was exposed. And that is what people support in this government. That is what people like in this government. That is what people agree to in this government. Because if people did not agree to what is happening, then election would have been called already in this country by the actions of the citizens of this country. So he just come out of the refining business. But coming out of the refining business, according to him last week, that is all they do. They didn't close down Petrotrin. Then what happened is everybody who was employed in Petrotrin went home because everybody was employed in the refinery business. That is what Rowley will have you to believe. And that is what all you're clapping for. So he get rid of everybody. And then he come and he say, just as how he blamed Kamla for bringing the report to the forefront, he come back now and he blame Espany. He said the board recommend that Petrotrin be closed. Espany under oath said, Rowley, you lie. In so many words. So what he said, the board never recommends such. Espany said under oath that the board never recommend the closure of Petrotrin. But Rowley come and he tell earlier that the board recommend it. But last week he telling earlier he didn't close it. You see how this man taking earlier for a bunch of clowns in this country? So on one hand he said the board recommend it. Espany come out and say them didn't recommend it. He come back and say we didn't close it. We just come out. We just came out of the refining business and all your clap. All your clap. All your clap to that. Welcome, caller.
Good evening, Victor! Elsico anyhow.
Right, Elsico.
Yeah. Short and sweet. Happy Independence, first of all. Well, I should say happy Indie Pothole Day. So, listening to you today, I was very happy to hear your voice, by the way. Welcome back again. But at the same time, it's very depressing, yet I feel very numb. Because this whole thing about Eric Williams and being the first Prime Minister and father, listen. I didn't celebrate Independence yesterday, you know. I turned off my TV. I went and cleaned up my house, washed my car, because it was painful. It was depressing. And it was useless. There's no point celebrating independence. Right? This thing, the PNM, Eric Williams, has created a cult. I said this before. Has created a cult that would jealous that will make the Nazis and the KKK jealous. They are that evil. It's incredible, yet not surprising that people could see the evils of the PNM and somehow let it pass or find an excuse for it. It make you wonder, you know, something. If the PM does all these evil things, you have to ask yourself, why are they keep voting for them? And the answers will, you know the answer already, but again, it's not surprising because apparently we like it so. So if you ask me, Victor, give it 10 days and everything will blow off. And next thing will come on. And everybody will have a problem with the Indian lady. So it's not important to me to go back by Rowley and let him increase gas once, increase it again. It's depressing to listen to these people. I don't know about you, Rector, but it's irritating to listen to these people on TV. In Parliament, some little summit they had, some little spotlighting today they have a comment, but it makes no sense to listen to these people.
So let me tell you what come out of that spotlight quickly. They intend to go back into the subsidy and reduce it, so it will cause an increase at the pumps once more. And
we'll set up the price of everything in the grocery store and everything on a whole. Right? And one more point. If they're reducing the subsidy on the fuel, why are they reducing the subsidy on the Tobago Sea Bridge on the bus fares? There's a big subsidy as well? Or is it political suicide? I'll leave you on that note. Thanks, Victor.
Thank you.
Bless.
Thank you. Thank you, Elsiko. So bottom line, he just come out of the refining business, but Petrotrin cannot be found. Everybody gone, from the security to the watchman. Everybody gone. But he enclosed Petrotrin. He just come out of the refining business. And you know what's sad? All your people clapping. All your people supporting that. But let's move on. So after Espany say, we never recommend, well, he say, them recommend, and he come back and say, we close it, but you can't find it. He is telling you, we just come out of the refining business, but everything else there. Everything else there. But why? One must ask the question, why this decision had to take place to close down, shut up, mash up, dissect God's Petrotrin? That decision, ladies and gentlemen, is one. You must ask Keith Christopher Rowley how much visit he made to San Francisco. By AV drilling. First question. Ask Keith Rowley how many visits he made down to San Francisco by AV drilling, and ask him at the same time what these visits entails. What these visits entails. Is Bash bigger than the Prime Minister? That Bash cannot make an appointment to go and see the Prime Minister if he have a concern like everybody else? Or what was so pressing and so important as to allow the Prime Minister to go down to San Francisco to visit and ask Rowley how many visits he made down in the San Francisco area, and what was the nature of those visits? That's one. Ask Keith Rowley why he had to make a phone call to Bash when he say he now hear about the fake oil scandal, and he had to call Bash to find out what that was about. I want you, John Public, to ask Rowley, why was Nicole Olivier fired? I want you to ask Keith Rowley, wasn't Franklin Khan deceased the line minister to Petrotrin who would have been privy to all the findings, to all the decisions in relation to that matter, asked Rowley why he had to call Bush to find out and did not call the minister who he appoints. Welcome, caller.
Yes, the Sheriff Fox in the house.
Fox, go ahead, man.
Yes. Robbie, don't care how you say to PNM supporters. Don't care what you say to them. These people does not hear what Rowley say. They hear what he say occasionally. I lost a friend from John because I tell him that Rowley says not close his own Petrotrin. And he is telling me that Rowley will never say that. Petrotrin was not making money to pay itself and others.
That's an idiot, Fox.
That's what he telling me.
Fox, that's an uninformed idiot who have no knowledge, who does not read, and who cannot differentiate the difference between corruption and reality.
Right? He believe that is a propaganda by others, and this is how negative. This is how canal-minded these people are for PNM. If Rowley said to them, drink poison, they will crap too. But when they go home and they already play it back and they hear drink poison, they go keep away from him for a while. If these people who are PNM people are robots, you know. They are robots, they are programmed. They program for how they are getting on, for what is going on in the country. Because I can't see how everybody have come together and move Rowley and in both of them from power already. In both is laughing at Trinidad and Tobago and that Antigua is laughing at us. Why as big people we are taking all of this? Why we are taking it? What happened to Trinidad and Tobagonians? Like we are really fools in truth. We are really fools in truth. Because he's a black man like yourself, but black man was holding black man and carry them and sell them for white man into a slave. The same black man holding you and carrying it to sell you to be a slave to the white man.
Correct.
Trinidad and Tobago. All you get up from all your bottom. Get up from all your brain. Where are we going? Where this country going? We're going backwards all the time. Oh God, Trinidad and Tobago. Oh God, somebody save us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fox. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, after the destruction of that entity and the Mark Boss, Rowley tell you that he called A and V to find out what this thing is about. Now, I want to take my time here today, you know. I want to ask you, the public, if you see any common sense in that, if you see the Prime Minister authority to make that call, or do you see something wrong? Because the Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen, have the entire security apparatus at his disposal. The Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen, listen to this.
A little louder, please. A little louder.
Listen to this.
Just on the issue of your phone call to Mr. Baksh, I'm just wondering whether or not, considering that he is at the center of this investigation right now, no outcomes, yes, but he is, his company and him are being looked at in this internal audit report and this fraud allegation, whether it was appropriate for you to call him.
Of course it's appropriate. I mean, if you have a friend and you hear that, you know, something like that happened to me, you wouldn't ask him, you know, what's this about? I mean, I couldn't wait to call him to find out what all this is about. I mean, and he said he doesn't know, right?
People of Trinidad and Tobago, people, Rowley telling you that he couldn't wait to find out what this was about. And of course, his friend gave him the assurance and tell him he don't know what that is about. But it was Rowley minister who allowed the investigation to take place. It was Rowley minister who was fired. And today they will never come out and tell you that they fire that minister for allowing that investigation to take place, which exposes, which they swear an oath not to do. They swear an oath to keep each other secret. But this minister did not fulfill the requirements to be a member of the Cosa Nostra, and therefore she was fired. But guess what? Ask Rowley, while I ask you, why you have to call the subject of an investigation to find out what this is about, while you appoint a board who reports to your minister, and your minister reports to you, Rowley, and the cabinet. So what hogwash you are telling us that you had to call Bash to find out what this fake oil was about? Rowley, you are full of dotishness. And the people who believe that hogwash, then they should be living in a hog pen, because you have to be overdotish.
Every road to be built in this country has to be built by the government. Every school, every health center, every this, every that. Because in this country, for the last generation or two, we've grown up on the government. Well, you better begin to be weaned off the government. Because
I want to ask you,
shoulder cannot carry the burden anymore.
I want to ask you, Rowley. Leave your appetite right there, Archie. I want to ask Rowley, why you don't tell your financiers to wean off the government? All the PNM financiers who continue to bathe in the wealth and enjoy the resources of this country with billions of dollars, why you don't tell them to wean off the government? Why you ain't tell them that? But no, weaning off the government is not for the finances of the PNM. The weaning off the government is for the supporters on the ground who supports the PNM. So Rowley called this man to find out what this I am hearing. Rowley, let me ask you a question. I want to ask you, Rowley, if you call that man to find out what is this you're hearing, or you call that man to ask him if any ministers are implicated. I asking you a question, Keith Rowley. What you really call this man for, Rowley? Rowley, you cannot fool me. Because Rowley, you as the head of the National Security Council, as you like to boast, you, Keith Rowley, could get any information without calling those who are directly involved in any scandal. Yes, Keith Rowley, the people are not that stupid as you think, more than those who clap when you talk or wash. But the population of this country, Rowley, they are very well aware as to what is going on in this country. So you call Bash, you call Deruki Singh according to you, and they both said to you that we do not know anything about that scandal. So Rowley, let me tell you something. It had to be the UNC who don't like Deruki Singh. It had to be the UNC who don't like Bash. And it had to be the UNC that fabricated that report. And Keith Rowley? And it had to be the UNC? And this Kamala? And this Kamala? Well, blame Kamala. Everything is Kamala. Blame Kamala. So guess what? A PNM board initiated the investigation. A PNM minister, a PNM prime minister, called his PNM financer to find out about this big scandal which involved the PNM financer. A PNM board fire this PNM financer. Another PNM board put together the arbiters. And another PNM board sit down and never appeal when Deborah Peake, senior counsel, said that the arbiters went against their own rules and guidelines set out, which is the only grounds to appeal. A PNM government refused to appeal against this arbitration. These arbiters that the PNM board and the PNM financier put together, and then the PNM government pay millions of dollars to the PNM financiers and then give the PNM financer another contract for a number of years in another field. You tell me something, Trinidad and Tobago. You tell me something. You tell me something. So guess what? Guess what? So Rowley make a phone call. The press Papi show us about Prime Minister, would you not say it's appropriate? And he say, of course not. Which one of you will have a friend and hear something about the friend and in call him? Prime Minister, you is not a friend, boy. You is the Prime Minister of this country, boy. You must act with decency and order, boy. You must allow investigation, Prime Minister, to go through the channel. And if you want to find out something, Prime Minister, you have to find out from the board that you appoint, Prime Minister. If you want to find out something, Prime Minister, you have to find out from your minister, Prime Minister. Who the heck give you the authority to get in to a serious investigation and then come back and tell us that you have the right to do that? Prime Minister, you is a disgrace to that chair. You are a disgrace to that chair that you sit in. And you better believe it or not, that God is really not like man. Because when you sit in that chair will catch a fire. Trust what I'm telling you here today. But let's move on. Let's move on. So coming out of that, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bash went away with the moon, and you, the taxpayers, cannot even utilize your spoon. You know why you can't utilize your spoon? Because you have nothing to eat. Nothing that you can sustain yourself. But yet, we know at a place where we would have produced our oil, and we had the mechanism to refine our oil, and all the byproducts that came out from that refinery would have been utilized in every aspect of building this country. Every aspect. But you know what? Rowley tell you that Petrotrin wasn't making money, and Silver Fox, tell your partner, I'm going to tell him why he is an idiot. Because while Rowley say that Petrotrin wasn't making no money, thank God for the UNC, that the UNC usher into being the Freedom of Information Act. While Gary Aboud could have go to the Freedom of Information Act and get the necessary documents to prove that Petrotrin was profitable and dispel the lies of the Prime Minister that Petrotrin was not making any profit and they had to close it down. Today, I want to tell you that Petrotrin closed down to protect the PNM high-ranking ministers, officials who was benefiting from the fake oil scandal in this country. Call names, I will whistle. That is the reason why the refinery now becomes a heap of scrap iron, and Colin Imbot will continue to improvise and apply the pressure, blaming the international and the global pandemic for you paying more to the pumps while you refuse to look into the real aspect as to why you have to pay more to at the pumps. And the reason is because of the government cover-up to protect and to keep the code of the Cosa Nostra intact, throwing you, the people, the citizens of this country, to the wolf, and will continue to blame the international situation for you paying more at the pumps, while Colin Imbot laughed and said to the IMF that he raised it 3 times and you in riot, and he will very well raise it a 4th time, which he did, and you remain quiet.
I then realized that was not enough. I came back again in April and I raised it again by 15%. And I came back again just a few weeks ago and raised it by another 15%. They haven't rioted yet. So I might raise it by another 15% in April of next year.
And you take that, you take that Trinidad, and today, in the little economy discussion, they are now saying to you that they will have to revisit that subsidy again because of the oil price. Now, when the refinery was operating, ladies and gentlemen, and if the refinery was still in existence, today you would have benefited from the high oil price. But because of the government intervention to protect the Cosa Nostra, today you have to pay the price for the government cover-up. And not only for the government cover-up, but you have to pay the protection money And they're going to reduce that subsidy again and again and again until there is nothing left to be reduced. And then you will put your hands up in the air and beg God for your 3 cents salary. Run it at you. Run it. Let us see it. That is what you will have to do. That is what Colin Imbot, Keith Rowley government bringing you, the people of this country. And if you want to laugh at those Lake Asphalt workers, ladies and gentlemen, you just have a little patience. And you just sit in your homes. And you don't come out to the streets and demand a fresh mandate, fresh election in this country, and you will kneel down just as Lake Asphalt workers by the store, by the grocery, by the pharmacy, by the gas station, and anywhere you could kneel to beg in this country for some level of sustenance. That is what this government doing to you under your nose. And you clapping to everything that Keith Rowley say on a daily basis. That is where you are. And that is why today Petrotrin is no more. And the doors of Petrotrin will never again surface under this PNM government and under this leader that you call Keith Christopher Rowley. That is what your voting finger have created, because you have voted not only without common sense, but you have voted with one thing in mind. This is the black government, and this is the black government for the black people. According to Keith Rowley, he said he is a proud black man, but he will never say we are proud black people. You know why? Because he knows that you have nothing to be proud about. But he is a proud black man. Yes, he is. But you will never be included as a proud black man under that same black government that you boast, that you support. And still some of those house slaves who believe that they are in charge because they have some little CPEP, and because they have some little board position, and because they're benefiting, whether it's because of a brief, like how this so-called law association support Amor for lying in an international court, because you believe that you have something left still. But hold on. Lake Asphalt believe that they had everything left. You know why? Because Lake Asphalt also know that they are a backbone to this economy. So they believe that we have something. So guess what? They too went and support the PNM. I campaigned in Library, and some of them blatantly, plainly said, look, we are supporters of the PNM. And that is why the PNM have them on the knees. But all is not lost, Lake Asphalt. All is not lost. The opportunity will come again. And before the opportunity comes, you could help create the opportunity to fast track. This country is really a joking 2x4 country. In any other country, I am telling you that election would have called already. You know why? The people would have stand up and come out and go before that Red House and call these politicians out and tell these politicians that is election in 90 days. no election in in 90 days, we would withstand the test of time and create history in this country, while we will stand up without moving. You could bring tear gas, you could bring tear gas, you could bring what you want. We are going to stand our ground until justice come to the poor, the oppressed, and the downtrodden, until they reduce crime, until you could support your family. We would not move. But it seems as though the testicular fortitude of the men in this country have since disappeared. It seems as though that no longer some of these men stand up and urinate. That is what it seems. It seems that no longer some men stand up and urinate. It looks like some of them lying down to urinate, and some of them probably stooping down. Where are the men in this country who will stand for what is right? Where are the men who will defend the women in this country? Where are you? Where are the men who will stand up and say we have enough of this crime situation, enough blood have flowed in this country, and it's time to put a government who will protect the life and livelihoods of its citizens? Where are the men? Where are you men? We have a national security minister who sleeps night and day while the crime situation escalates beyond control. We have in 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 murders in 72 hours. And you will not hear the people cry out in this country and said to us that the minister must go, the government must go, and they must go now. Welcome, caller.
Good night, my brother Victor.
Good night, my brother, my attorney friend.
How are you? How are you?
I am there, Mr. Big. I am there, fighting the fight.
And I know once you are there, William Archie is not far away.
Good night, Mr. Big.
Good night to the magnanimous, the indomitable, the man they call William Archie.
That's the man.
I am now referring him to as the man behind the camera. You understand? You see the man behind the camera? Them is the man that you have to always keep close to you. Well, my brother, as you are aware, I only just joined the show, so but I hope I can crave your indulgence. As we all know, today we heard the announcement for Budget Day.
Yes, we are aware of that. Right. But that's an annual process that really, that is a PNM show. That's a PNM show. Because what could the opposition really do? What could they do when they go to parliament? The speaker does always say they're irrelevant and repetitious.
Well, let me actually correct the record on that, my friend. In that, as you are aware, the leader of the opposition is who kicks off the debate. And I want to tell the nation, get ready, because you will be hearing the real and true budget coming from the response of the leader of the opposition.
Well, actually, the leader of the opposition she always does a very good job in her budget response.
Yes, and what we can further say, as we saw the spotlight on the economy, as they called it, I called it rather the gaslight, because I'm sure you would have heard that the Minister of Finance said that the nation will soon be again seeing an increase in the fuel tax, in the removal of the subsidy.
Well, that is really the topic we're dealing with, but we went at length to show them why that is the situation, and it's all because the government closed on Petrotrin to cover up the corruption and the high-ranking PNM official who were involved.
You hit the nail on the head, my brother.
Yeah.
But outside of that, the reason why we must talk about it is because gas pain is real pain. Right? Believe it or not, gas pain is real pain. I don't mean the gas pain in your belly, but it becomes a gas pain in your belly when the gas prices raise and increase.
Right.
It causes a domino effect. And that's a reality. And anyone who refuses to accept such a reality, well, then you are living in some other dominion and not the way you are now.
Correct.
Because the minute gas goes up, everything goes up. I believe someone said that. But I want to elaborate further. Because when somebody says, well, everything will go up, they say, yeah, well, all just say that. No, it is a reality. Because food goes up, transportation goes up, everything goes up. Anything that deals with gas. Because believe it or not, it trickles down as well to where in which persons have to look at it if textiles are going to go up.
Correct.
Production is going to go up. Right? And you know the sad part, you know what not going up? A man's salary ain't going to go up. Although a man take a 4%. I ain't going to deal with tea tonight. Right? Remember we had a man say not tonight. Right? We must also understand that the Minister of Finance who said this, and look how he said it again. He said it with no remorse. He said it with no care. He said it with no love. Because you must understand that a nation right now is grappling coming out of a pandemic. Persons have lost their jobs. Persons have even who have their jobs. Some persons have lost major form of finance in that some companies cut their salaries. There are some families who right now have major expenses upon them. We have single mothers. We have single fathers. What is going to happen to them? Because you have to look at all of this. We have pensioners. And who I can tell you, for those who have listened to the budget consultations with the United National Congress, has been doing well. I want to commend the political leader for this, along as other persons who have been involved. That you hear also pensioners are now clamoring for increasing their pension.
But Brian, what about the situation that will come on Monday, while these kids, their parents, are not in a position to provide school books, sneakers, well, all the apparatus to have them back in school? What you seeing? What disaster you seeing going to come out of that?
Well, my friend, there has been some major disasters because I can tell you, coming out of Komoto Manzanilla, because I am very much aware what goes on there, along with the hardworking MP you have, Dr. Rai Ragbir, is that you're seeing poor families indicating that they are unable to get the book. But that's only one major issue is the issue of the laptops and the issue of connectivity. Whether or not, because schools are opening back, but when you have persons who have children who have been given assignments to do, they don't have the laptops to use. And if they do have a laptop to use, they don't have proper connectivity. And you must remember the last budget statement. The Minister of Education talked about it, but yet it has never come it has never come about. All right? And it's just again the failure of this government. The failure. And I'm saying it again, that Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley has failed Trinidad and Tobago. And it is time that Dr. Rowley realizes he is not carrying out his mandate that he got in 2020. Dr. Rowley should really and truly look to call a general election and seek a fresh mandate. Because you failed this nation. Imagine when you have children who are so, they are so hurt by what is going on. That you imagine you have children now begging on the streets for a book bag. A book bag. And you know the sad part about it? The Minister of Education will not talk about that. So it is sad for what we are seeing. But again, we warned the station. We told you all this was going to happen. But elections have consequences. And enough is enough. So I must say, my friend, you're doing an excellent job as always. You know, I'm always there for you. Whenever you need me, you know I'm always there.
Yeah.
And you can attest for that on the steps of the Hall of Justice.
Of course.
And I'm sure Archie can attest to that too.
Of course, my brother.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Big. We have to be careful. We don't give you too much time because the callers is calling and say limit the time for the speakers.
No problem, no problem. You all have a good night. Stay safe. And always have a good night, gentlemen.
Thank you, brother. Well, you know, I will always have to take a little buff in between for some of the attorneys from the UNC. Welcome, caller. Welcome, caller. Go ahead.
Good night, Victor. Good night, New York in your house here.
Good night, good night, good night.
Well, I have some news for you, and I'm very serious about it. I just saw on Fox News, where the U.S. Border Patrol stopped some illegal immigrants coming through on the southern border. And do you believe the whole one Tobagonian in that?
Wow.
I have the news. I will post it for you now on Fox News. The
Wow.
whole one, and here you know, one Tobagonian, the whole 11 Indians, a few Pakistani, a few Africans, a few Asians, and I get a drop there. And how I know the one Tobagonian, because they put a map out, you know, like a map of the world,
Yeah.
and it has one Tobagonian, and it is close to Venezuela because you can't see the map. It's so small that, but it is close to Venezuela. It's only Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago is close to Venezuela, and it says one Tobago. It ain't marked Tobagonian, eh? It says
one Tobago.
They have one Tobago, and it have like, for example, it have like the India, 11 India. They put the name of the country. They didn't put the nationality. If you understand what I'm saying there.
Right, right.
But basically, you know, like they put Senegal. They ain't gonna put Senegalese or India. You understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah, of course, of course.
It just, I couldn't believe when I just see that thing. And here the funny thing about it, Robert, I was trying to call you all the time just to break down news for you. And here the funny thing about it, it's not a Trinidadian, you know. It's a Tobagonian.
I wonder if that Tobagonian is Rowley, right? Thank you, caller. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm serious, man, Robert. I couldn't believe this. And I had to break the news to you because I could tell you why. First, I tried to call Arnold Roberts. Well, I know he's busy. I tried to call one or two other, you know, UNC senators, but I realized they're busy and thing. I said, the next man can really bail me out and this is you. But of course, I listen to your program a lot. I say I had to give it a breaking news, boy. I'll go try and post it for you, put it on your personal phone. So
Yeah,
go
brother.
take a look at it. But if you get a chance, go on Facebook and look at Fox News tonight.
I will,
Fox
I will.
News, and you go see it. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very
Have a
much.
blessed one. Locked on and listening, but I have a blessed and Robert, I'm here now. Before I go again,
Right. Anna will be on tomorrow, please God. Anna Roberts will be on tomorrow,
Yes.
please God.
All right then.
All right, thank you.
I keep telling all the gentlemen, with all due respect, all you have big target on all your back. All you just be careful. From my profession,
Yeah.
all you just be careful. You see what happened to the Argentinian vice president?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You see what happened? You see how the guy put the gun in his face?
Huh.
The gun just did not go off. Think about that.
Thank
Have
you,
a blessed
brother.
one.
Thank you very much. Boy, actually, I wonder if it's Rowley the who trying to run, boy. Well, I sort of feel good when I hear Tobago. I feel good. Welcome, caller.
Yes, this is the Silver Fox here.
Well, folks are here. All you getting locked up all over the world. Are they trying to run, boy? What's going on in Tobago?
Well, here what's going on. Since we can't work in Tobago, we vote PDP, right? And we can't work. I looking to run out there too. I looking to get out there too. If I can get out there, I go into. Because I'm a human being just like everybody else all over the world. You understand? Tobagonians are not different to Trinidadians, are not different to this one. We all are human beings and we all want a better life.
Right.
Once we want a better life, so I don't understand when a man calling to say a Tobagonian out there, a Tobagonian, so we want a better life. Everybody wants a better life. Everybody wants piece of the pie.
Yeah,
If
they're
we taking
running.
it away from we here, what you want me to do? Eh? What you want me to do? Nobody is standing up in this country against Keith Christopher Rowley. Nobody is standing, right? Everybody taking what he giving us and walk away smiling, right? We getting problem in Tobago too. Nobody are getting up. And let me tell you something. You see the politicians you call Alexander and Duke and all of them. These fellas don't really want Rowley to move from there right now, you know. These fellas want political mileage. These fellas just want to go to 2025 to see how much people them could get to vote for them. If these fellas really serious about the country of Trinidad and Tobago, they will come together and will come under one umbrella with Miss Camilla, and we will get them out. We will get them out politically. Why they're not coming?
Well
Everybody
said,
pulling away. And let me tell you something, Camilla is the next ruler of Trinidad and Tobago, and it will be very soon. Because Rowley can't take it no more. Rowley is a madman. Rowley gone crazy. Rowley gone mad. Rowley is insane. And the other ministers gone insane with him too. Thank you, Trinidad and Tobago. And Tobagonians, if you could get out there, go. Thank you.
Run, don't afraid. Thank you, Fox. And this is something, Archie, I think I will deal with next Tuesday. I will deal with these third parties and see if it really makes sense or what is really the idea behind this third party. Because I think Fox hit the nail on the head. Let me enter into that. But Fox, you hit the nail on the head, and I will deal with that next week, Tuesday, God's willing, and we will move forward. Well, it's 8:59. Remember that Anil Roberts would be here tomorrow at 7, Archie? 7:30. At 7:30, Douglas Politics. The general will be here. So remember to lock in and locked on. Spread the word around that Douglas Politics.
Not only Anil. Understand the lion will be in the house too.
All right, good. So Anil and Munilal will be here. Anil and Munilal will be locked on. So stay tuned for that. It will be an action-packed afternoon. So don't miss it. Lock on and share it around that Douglas Politics. Anil will be on tomorrow as usual, and I believe that Anil will be here on a Saturday and a Wednesday. And yours truly will be here on a Tuesday and a Friday. And Monday and Tuesday, of course, will be UNC business. We have the Monday night forum, and of course, there's other activities that will take place on a Tuesday. So I will have to leave it here for this afternoon. I want to thank you all for your patience. I know for a fact we started late, but nevertheless, it was circumstance beyond our control. I really had to ensure that all the prospective candidates for Library get their document inside and get it inside on time. And of course, the line was long, the flooding was there, and there was a number of different activities that really retard the process here this evening. But we want to thank you for your patience and locking on and commenting and your phone calls and so on. We ask you to stay blessed, stay safe, go with God. I am saying good night and I'm out of here.
Douglas Politics, I feel like I ain't do it in years, boy. Vishnu, you feel I could still be able to talk the politics, talk the facts, bring the information? Vishnu, boy, you feel so, boy? Who I could bring, Vishnu, to help me, boy, to remind me, to help me talk any issue? Who, boy? Vishnu, who? What? Who is that song? What? Yes, boy, Vishnu, the lion and the Douglas. Yes, Saturday night, 7:30 p.m. The lion of Oropouche East joins the Douglas Politics. It's back. Rowley. Douglas Politics, 7:30 p.m. Saturday night. Sharp. Douglas Politics. I feel like I ain't do it in years, boy. Vishnu, you feel I go still be able to talk the politics, talk the facts, bring the information? Vishnu, boy, you feel so, boy? Who I could bring, Vishnu, to help me, boy, to remind me, to help me talk any issue? Who, boy? Vishnu, who? What? Who's that song? What? Yes, boy, Vishnu, the lion and the Douglas. Yes, Saturday night, 7:30 p.m. The lion of Oropouche East joins the Douglas. Douglas politics, it's back. Rowley. Douglas politics, 7:30 p.m. Saturday.